I'm going to be honest with you. Let's tell everybody the truth here. We're about 5 days into this, and the news hadn't even picked it up, and all my crew is doing is all day reading thousands of emails. I mean, there's thousands that are just related to food and hot dog and kids and hot tubs and kid deliveries and oh, the spirit cooking and oh, Aleister Crowley and oh, there'll be semen and blood. I told my crew, I said, it's probably true. No one's going to believe us. Stop obsessing on it and stop reading these emails because I want to focus on the election and everything else that's happening. So then sites start accusing me of covering up the Podesta stuff before it's called Pizzagate, and then I get blamed for being behind Pizzagate, and I'm not even bitching. I'm explaining what it's like to really be trying to get at the truth, and then people take the fact that it's complex. She'd be better at this than me, Joe, because you know how to put stuff out clear and parse it. I just know all this crap.
When you get crazy, you start ranting.
People won't listen to me because I got too much data. And you imagine what this is like? I mean, it's just, I'm sick of it. I don't know everything that's going on, but I know this. I have good CIA people and FBI and Secret Service, okay, telling me, yes, Alex, it's worse than you know. Keep getting them. It's going to come out, and it's starting to come out and saying, watch, when we start arresting the pedophile networks, we're going to roll up the Democrats and the Republicans that are involved. That's why Trump said in his speeches at the inaugural, this is not about parties. We're taking these people on. We're bringing God back in. Even somebody that wasn't very religious like Trump has gotten religion learning about this. Because let me tell you something, Trump's not a devil worshiper, and he loves God, and he's been briefed on all this, and he's going to roll their ass up. So the pedophiles better get ready.
Aloha. I just wanted to share that quick clip of Joe Rogan, Alex Jones on Joe Rogan's show, and go into what I've been speaking in reference to for a while now, in reference to the controlled demolition of this system and how intricate it is, because we have obviously the mainstream media, and for example purposes, you can see the obvious differences between the mainstream media and so-called alternative news. And then you have the differences between alternative news and, say, Donald Trump, but basically Donald Trump, but Alex Jones. So the difference between alternative news, Alex Jones, and the mainstream media. And then you have the differences of like conspiracy theorists, and then so-called conspiracy theorists. Then you have the differences between people, like the factions of people who are speaking in reference to like the flat earth. Then you have the conscious community. So this is, well, the so-called new age conscious community. And then you actually have the black conscious community. So you have these different factions of streams of thought that are being amplified with this abundance of information. And what's happening is everybody is building up themselves and their perspectives of reality based upon the community in which they are comfortable with. For me, I went through the protesting time frame, the protesting community. Then I went through the new age community, seeing the limitations, constantly expanding my own perspectives as I go. And then once I got out of the new age perspective, I knew I had to find out like what's really going on the inner space personally for me, and how is that being affected? How is my experience just a microcosm of the macrocosm of what's happening to humanity overall? And as I went back, I had to see, in order to see that perspective, that reality, you have to see it from not only your own perspective, but you have to see it from like your family's perspectives, your generations, like your grandparents' perspective, your mother and father's perspective, your children's, your next generation's perspectives. All of these have to be taken into account in order to see the larger pictures that are affecting the entire mass of human consciousness. And the one way that we are lost into this is the compartmentalization of information and distraction. So distraction is another like stream of, it's another community. So you have people who are only comfortable with going to work and talking about what ESPN. Like, I used to have friends like this who would only talk about like ESPN, sports, football, whatever it was. And then you have people who, so it's just a matter of what somebody's comfortable with. These are all beneficial to the enslavement, the colonial enslavement program as a whole. So what I was referencing in the last video, those 5 main points that speak in reference to challenging the entire system of the governments and the corporations, all one entity, the idea of, or the actual system of the supremacy program as a whole, that includes it includes all of the storylines that have existed within the last however many hundreds of years, the last however many centuries, that set the foundation to this enslavement, to the colonial program. So this goes into the genocides and massacres and the colonizations of Africa, Australia, the Polynesian Islands, the Americas, both North and South America, the change of command from in Europe, where the Black Moors kind of shifted out of power. This is all happening at the same time that the heliocentric model was being installed into the mass consciousness. My main point is that this system is it utilizes that compartmentalization for its own benefit. It utilizes the compartmentalization to help to keep you distracted in a storyline that allows you to just be consumed by the system still existing, by the system still needing to be around. So this is what Alex Jones and Joe Rogan are out there. They are like the double cross agents of this system of controlled demolition, whether they know it or not. I'm pretty sure Alex Jones knows it. I don't know how. I'm pretty sure Joe Rogan is a smart individual, but I don't know if he's really realizing how deep this goes. I'm pretty sure he does. Once you're up there like that, you already know. But I would recommend watching this video. Joe Rogan and Alex Jones on Pizzagate. I like how Eddie Bravo's just sitting in the background, just kind of chilling out, listening and allowing Alex Jones to do his job without having to be beat up by Joe Rogan and all those other panelists that are out there just being assholes, just trying to protect their own. So I want to stay on the point because this is it's just a basic point of the differences between like Joe Rogan and Alex Jones. If you watch this video, you can see it. And he actually says it right before. I don't know if he said it during that little clip, but he says, well, Joe Rogan, you break it down like this and this and this. And I'm just full of information. I have all this information and nobody listens to me. And Joe is more like kind of tippy-toeing through this stuff at his own pace because that's his following. That's how his following works, and that's how he works. The main point is that Joe Rogan's perspectives and the limitations that are within those perspectives are no different than Alex Jones' perspectives and the limitations within those perspectives, because they still exist within the slave house. They still exist within the colonial agenda. This is on purpose. And I was showing these videos because I'm pretty sure it was this video, the Trump, the Controlled Demolition, or one of these videos that were talking about controlled demolition, because I've been speaking about it for a while now. Any part of the system or any news outlet or whatever that is explaining to you that America needs to change, or the United States needs to change in reference to this type of politics, or this needs to happen with the Constitution, or this. And the main point being, they never reference the colonial system as a whole. They never reference another part, which is like obvious to me, like the flat Earth, heliocentric involvement in this mind control program. None of this stuff is referenced. And even if they do reference that, like I said in previous videos, they could adopt the flat earth model into the Americana Trump shift. It could be easily, because they can just commercialize it and sell it to the people as, and that's what I'm really thinking eventually is what it'll be. But first, they have to get through this muck, and that's the main thing. This Pizzagate shit, the Hillary stuff, all the Clinton stuff, all the George Soros stuff, all of this garbage that has been existing forever needs to be gotten through first before they need. It's like stoking the fire. It's like creating I don't know if the term is vacuum. They're creating a need, basically, or an emptiness. They're creating an emptiness in your information stream. And in that emptiness, you'll be so emptied out by the time you figure out how deep this story goes and how shitty this program has been forever, and how horrible these storylines are. You'll be so emptied out that you'll be buying whatever it is that they're selling you. And that's the main point. They want to empty you out and play your emotional body so much that when it's time for them to want to kick into gear, this next scenario, this next control grid, that'll be a different kind of polarization. Same thing that happened in like the Civil Rights Act time frame. Like I said in the last videos, they controlled you. They controlled us with destruction, war, fear, low vibrations. Now they're gonna try to control people with the higher vibrations of love, peace, and unity, and all this stuff. In reference, it's the artificial version of that. It's all in reference to the expansion of consciousness, the human consciousness itself. The system has to adjust itself to the level of consciousness of the people. Otherwise, it won't have any power. So since there's so much information available to people, we have been able to raise our consciousness, and it's also happening naturally. First, we've been able to raise our consciousness to where the system realizes this and now has to adjust. It has to adjust in order to maintain control and maintain the haves and the have-nots system. So this program is the compartmentalization of this program benefits. It benefits the it benefits the system because largely you're distracted. It benefits the system because we've been so bought into like how we should be like the mainstream, be like pop, be like these Hollywood activists, be like this, Obama, be like whatever it is. Since you're not yourself, you've been separated from your culture, you've been separated from your ancestral harmonics. We buy into whatever is available, and what's been available for so many generations is this synthetic version of humanity, this colonial universe. So people like Joe Rogan and Alex Jones are out there to make it look like they are for positive change, just like TYT is out there to talk about this is positive change, when all they want you to do is protest the system, ask the system if the system will change. Hey, slave master, can you change? Shut the fuck up. You're going to get what we give you. Okay, sorry. I guess we just have to wait another 4, 5, 8 years for something to change. Let's just keep doing what we're doing. More taxes, more NASA, more whatever it is. People like Joe Rogan, he's all for that shit. He's cool. He's fine. He's getting paid. He doesn't have to worry about what's happening as a result of the empire of the colonial empire. He doesn't have to worry about that shit because he's taken care of. So if he's in the know of this, he's actually defending that program and allowing it to be. Another example is that I watched the movie Miss Sloan. I think that was the name of it. Sloan. It was about the lobbyists and the lobbyist relationship between the politicians in Washington, D.C., in the White House, and so on and so forth, and how all of it's just slimy. And spoiler alert, basically, Miss Sloan just brings to the surface how shitty the entire system is, and how the focus is really not so much about the lobbyists, it's about the senators and the system itself. So the design, I'm referencing the design of movies. Another one is like, what is it? The new Bourne that came out, whatever Bourne movie, the last Bourne movie that came out. It's about making you believe that there's good guys in the system. That the good guys in the system, this same shit happens in the New Age community, that there are good guys in the system that are going to change the system for the better of the people. So you have, and the main point is that the system won't ever change, just like the Civil Rights Act. It's not about addressing the entire system. It's about molding it and evolving the system to expand based upon the level of consciousness and the information stream of the people. So these movies and these conscious storylines that get shared on social media and on Joe Rogan and Alex Jones and even TYT every now and again, they are designed to make you believe in that same kind of plot line. You think that there are good people in the system, the slave colonial system, that are for you. So you buy into that movie, and since you love that movie, it's comfortable. Everybody around you is cool with that movie. It's been going on for generations. You'll just accept whatever the movie tells you. You'll never address the movie theater. You'll never address the blood and the bones underneath the movie theater. You'll never, because we're stuck in the movie. This is the intention of the colonial controlled demolition. And you have mouthpieces like Alex Jones and Joe Rogan who are out there to control the level of engagement. They control the level of engagement from the people and the system. And since they are so loud, since they are so in your face, since they are so all over the place with bringing about all this tragic and horrible information out there, you really believe that they are doing something for you. If you expand out as far as you can go, you realize that their foundations are set still within the slave mind program. They don't give a shit about the indigenous and aboriginal people. They don't give it. If I would mention any of this shit, that's like hopeless to them. They're like, you'll never be able to challenge the entire system. You'll never. And that's the thing. That's their intention. You don't need to do that. You just need to be aware of what has happened, the foundations of this system, and it'll just make it blatantly obvious about what the intention of this system is. When you go into what Dr. Francis Cress Welsing was talking about, what Dr. Phil Valentine is talking about, what Bobby Hemming has been talking about for decades. They've been talking about this for decades. And not only them, but so many people have been bringing to the surface the origin of this system. And they might not be directly engaged in like the observations of the heliocentric model yet, But what they are saying, what they are addressing is the actual human storyline that I've been talking about in reference to like the flat earth community, which is not being looked at. They come from the perspective of the human storyline that is the infrastructure of the university system that sets the platform for the heliocentric model. So all of this shit that is a result of the colonial agenda, the legal name, the heliocentric model, all of this shit exists on the blood and the bones of the genocide and the massacre of the indigenous and the aboriginal people. If you do not empower yourself from that perspective and see all of this shit from that perspective, you will fall short inside that box. Joe Rogan is his own box. He has his own following. Alex Jones is another box. They have their own following. TYT, the MSM, the mainstream media, the university system, the ESPN people, the people who are distracting themselves on a regular basis by social media. These are all micro boxes inside the mega box of the entire colonial universe. And since each person is comfortable in their own vision of what is the ultimate, then and we don't venture out and allow ourselves to be vulnerable. Like, this is a vulnerable space for me to be talking about all this shit. It's very like this. It's one of the most difficult things that you can do is to open up and look at yourself, like to be out there and say information out in the open. It's hard enough to even talk with people openly. This is like we're healing the wounds of humanity. Like, communication is what expands consciousness. It's not the internet. It's not books. It's originally your elders speaking to the younger generations. That's the organic relationship that we have to ourselves and each other. And that stuff that's the essence. This is why we've been labeled as primitive and savage and so on and so forth. And all of our distractions and all of our buying into this system from these shallow ass perspectives like Joe Rogan and Alex Jones are a result of us not having a true understanding of the origins of who and what we are. So we buy into this shit, and we're largely, when you buy into this program, you're buying into the controlled demolition. You're buying into a limitation program. And if you watch this video, Joe Rogan and Alex Jones on Pizzagate, you'll see a very clear picture of what the compartmentalization looks like. How these stories are approached by people and not approached by people, and how that affects the entire human population as a whole. Because this is what's happening right now. It's free reign for sharing information right now. People are finding out the depths as deep as they can go and sharing it with each other. And that cannot be stopped. It cannot be like it exists. Once you tap those depths of reality, it exists inside you. And that's the storyline that I'm really wanting to focus on, is that when the elders were telling you stories around the fire generations before today, before all of this stuff happened, they were speaking to your soul essence. They were speaking to the internal you, the stuff that the you that exists outside of the physical reality, the 99th percentile of who and what you are. Before any of this colonial shit started, before any of this pirate system, maritime admiralty system, all of this this cheap magic happened, before all of this, we were understanding the connections with nature, the sun, the moon, the stars, the earth, the air, the elements, all of this. We were connecting with all of this from the inside out. This program is designed to keep you focused on from the outside in. And it's backwards. It's literally backwards. And then when you buy into the system, the controlled demolition part of it, you're buying into the upside down version of it. So it's backwards and upside down. That's why I call this the double cross. It's the Joe Rogan and Alex Jones are the double cross program, is because you have to realize that there's at least two layers there, obvious layers. It's like checkers, like two checker games on top of it. And you're not even going into the chess game of the soul, the mind, and the body. We're not even allowed to go there because what is so obvious for us to pay attention to is in the checker game. And like I said in previous videos, this is all going to it's all happening at its own pace, at its own time. My point is that there are, like where I'm doing a lot of these videos, is that there are a lot of people who still buy into these programs, and people who are sharing information. They can come at it from a deeper perspective and show what's really coming, where these roots truly go. Because, and the reason why, one of the main reasons why I shared this specific video right now is because when these individuals, a part of this controlled demolition, team up like this, when Alex Jones and all of his everything goes on Joe Rogan and his millions of followers, that is an expansion. That is a shift of some sorts. And what I'm saying is that shift is still happening inside of a box. And when you watch that video, you see they're just celebrating. Excuse me. They're just celebrating. They're just like, oh yeah, we're doing this. We're talking about this. It's all great and all this is. It's like, yeah, thank you for sharing this information. But when you expand the storyline out beyond that, you'll realize that it still exists inside of a box, and largely they are the main heads, the main talking pieces for the next enslavement program. Just like these movies set up for you. It's like, oh, just believe that because they're inside the system. Literally, Alex Jones is backing Trump. He backs the Colonial program. They're a bad guy. Their villain that makes them out to be the superhero, they're calling globalists. You think there's a difference between Trump and Hillary Clinton just because they labeled something a globalist and a true American? It's a cartoon. If you believe that there's a difference between a Trump and a Hillary Clinton just because they call one a globalist and one a true American, it's ignorant, really. Now, I'm not saying there aren't any differences between them. What I'm saying is that those differences, whatever they are, they still exist in a box. They're still a part of controlling the masses. There are various factions of these controllers, these colonial control. It's not just one system. There's various systems and groups. Just as much as there are different races and cultures, there are different races and cultures of disembodied entities, for one example, that are fighting for control over the masses. Like, it's not just as simple as the good guys and the bad guys like they're trying to make you believe in. This is what Alex Jones is trying to make you believe in. And this is what Joe Rogan is moving into. He's getting ready to start talking about this stuff because he can't go back. He's supposed to be a quote unquote a rational guy. This is why he's out there, to play that middle guy, because Alex Jones is the extreme. TYT is largely just pieces of shit, and they're just like simple ass. They ain't no different than the mainstream media, and he's the cool guy. He talks about, psychedelics and smoking weed and UFC and all this stuff. He's basically like the psychedelic cage fighter mentality, or whatever it is, like the cool ESPN, like the psychedelic cage fighting ESPN. So you talk about whatever he talks about, and then you're comfortable with whatever he talks about because he promotes himself as like an intelligent guy. But when Eddie Bravo and when people like Eddie Bravo start pushing his buttons and pushing his limits, then you'll see what he's really not talking about. You can truly see like what he's really about. So Alex Jones goes on there and they play the role, and Joe Rogan isn't equipped enough to shut down Alex Jones like he shuts down Eddie Bravo. Eddie Bravo is a guest on the Joe Rogan Experience. Alex Jones is his own superpower. So when he invites Alex Jones on there, Alex Jones is largely the alpha in that situation, and Joe Rogan only has the alpha of his own show. So the only thing he can do is kind of slow Alex Jones down. But ultimately, the bigger shift is happening within Joe Rogan and his audience, his following, because now he has to shift along with it. And he also has Eddie Bravo there, and Eddie Bravo can always call back to that moment and recall that information and say, well, how the fuck can you believe in all of this information that was said by Alex Jones, but not believe that this is also a potential for existing? How could you truly entertain all of this shit and see how dark and sinister all that stuff is, but not look at all this other information? So Joe Rogan can't go back, and Eddie Bravo won't allow him to go back. But he'll still fight it, and it's all in due time, because that's how this Hollywood movie reel works. It's just like everybody has a short attention span, and they'll just do whatever they're told by the higher ups to talk about and what not to talk about. The main point is that right now, this video just came out, and it's a good time to talk about the controlled demolition and what it looks like. What it looks like, what it tastes like, what it feels like, what it's promoting, what it's not promoting, and what its intentions are. Because this system, like, it's trying to, like I said in previous videos, and I'll end it right now because I pretty much explained everything I wanted to say, that this controlled demolition is based upon creating a villain, which inherently creates superheroes. So you have Trump that can play the villain and the superhero depending on what perspective you're coming from. So it plays good for the system because ultimately you're just buying in, you're watching the story play out. He actually plays three layers of programming. He's the comedic distraction, he's also the villain, and he's the good guy. He's the superhero. So he's a superhero for people like Alex Jones. He's the villain for the so-called Democrats and all the so-called real Americans. It's just the old system, the old mind control system. And he's also the whatever the word is for the comic relief for the Hollywood scene, the actors. So he's like a triple. What is that? Triple threat. He's a triple threat to your awareness, and all of these various systems play on that, and they expand upon that because, I mean, it's the most obvious thing. So that's basically what I wanted to share with this video, was to, instead of looking at the movie from within the movie theater, look at the movie and the movie theater from outside of the movie theater, and realize that this is not, anything that they're talking about is not for the benefit of the people. Anything that they're talking about is only for the expansion of the system. And I don't give a shit how, like, stuff like Pizzagate, I'm glad they're talking about it because this needs to stop. It's obviously the first thing that needs to stop. These child trafficking and women trafficking stuff that's happening, that's like the biggest damn problem all across the earth. Like, it's fucked up on so many levels. So it's not surprising that this system is falling first, and this is how it's going to implode, because it's easy to make good guys and bad guys out of that system, because so many people are like, everybody's like, no, this shit is not at all good. This pedophilia and all of this garbage, it obviously needs to stop. And then you say, well, who's gonna stop this? Okay, well, this system that stops it is like the good guys within the program, like those movies. It's the system within the system that makes you believe that, oh, well, they have good intentions because they stopped this. So yeah, that's ultimately how this system is rolling. This controlled demolition, with Trump being the largest distraction out there. He's doing exactly what he needs to do. He's according to the system, he's doing the most fucked up stuff with this Muslim ban, this 7-nation Muslim ban, and all this other stuff. And the only way that we can really truly address the foundation of human consciousness is to speak in reference to the storyline that's generations old, that's centuries old. People like Joe Rogan and Alex Jones, they're not going to talk about that. They're not going to mention that stuff. They're only going to talk about what they are. If they're paid, they're only going to talk about what they're paid to talk about, or they're only going to talk about what, if giving them the benefit of the doubt, they're only going to talk about what their level of consciousness will allow them to talk about. Either way, it's dangerous. Either way, it's dangerous, because they have millions and millions of followers who are going to buy into that program and just accept it to be. And Alex Jones is basically mainstream now. If Donald Trump is the president, then Alex Jones is mainstream, and everything that he was talking about is mainstream. It just hasn't been seen as mainstream yet. And you'll see this in this video. Everything that they're talking about, Alex Jones been talking about for the last few years. And everything that he's been talking about has already been known by the people who have been talking about this system overall for decades. The shit that Alex Jones talks about are side effects to the Colonial program. Joe Rogan, Alex Jones, TYT, the mainstream media, Hollywood activists, they are all focusing on the side effect of the prescription drug of the Colonial program. They will never address the inherent destructive natures of those prescription drugs that are being pawned off as human innovation and healing humanity and so on and so forth. We are being overdosed on prescription drugs of illusions and distractions. Joe Rogan, Alex Jones, the mainstream media, TYT, they are all band-aids, prescription drugs for a cancer on the human experience. So until that story gets addressed, until we start talking about the cancer, they will never talk about the cancer. They will consume themselves. They will get in your face and talk about, they will talk about all this stuff, and Trump is going to take them. Wait, what? How the fuck you jump from all this stuff to believing that Trump is your savior and he's going to do all this shit? How the hell could you be talking about the seat of the presidency for decades and then all of a sudden shift gears into now he's going to do something about it from that seat? No, garbage. So Joe Rogan is looped in with Alex Jones in that shift. And outside of all that, you'll realize that they're talking about Band-Aids. And those Band-Aids will stop some wounds, like some gushing wounds. Like all this stuff needs to be talked about. This stuff needs to be addressed. When they're talking about Pizzagate and so on and so forth, this stuff needs to come to the surface. At the same time, we have to realize where this stuff is being channeled, where it's going, where they're going to take this next. And it's up to us. It's our responsibility to hold them accountable by pushing the issues and pushing the conversation both externally with them and internally with our own perspectives. If we don't do that, then we're going to be spinning wheels and just hoping that whatever happens based upon this box will change. But that's basically what I wanted to share with this video, is just to give another expanded perspective on how this system works, and not to get so consumed on what exactly is within the system. So yeah, thank you for joining me. Until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.